welcome to Today in LA. My name is Bill Rice Jr. and Mike Amos is out of town today, and I have a very special guest with me to my left, Mr. Frank Fryer, who happens to be my father-in-law. I'm told I don't have on my microphone, but Frank has graciously said that he would come in and be a guest host with us today. Frank grew up in Brundage, as many as you know, born and raised in Brundage, played all the sports at Pike County. We can talk about some of that. Later served our country in the Vietnam War, and at some point married Elizabeth Mason and raised my wife, Carrie.
Yep.
But the big news is about a month ago, Frank and Liz moved from Montgomery to Troy. So welcome back to Pike County, Frank.
It's home. It really is. Thanks for the welcoming.
And I think you've watched the show for many years, going back to when Bud Casey was on it and my dad was on it. And the show used to be on up in Montgomery, didn't it?
Yes, I'd call in from Montgomery years ago, and I was able even to talk to Bill's father, Billy Rice Sr., and that was quite a privilege to get to talk to those people. It really was. I learned a lot of sports even from them.
A lot of news that we're going to talk about, and then we'll talk some about Pike County and Brundage memories. Frank made a little list and pointed out something that I didn't know. It tells you how much I keep up with the news, that the Winter Olympics are starting tonight in Beijing, China. I watched exactly 0 minutes of the Summer Olympics. So I wonder, I'll probably watch maybe 1 minute of the Winter Olympics. But still, the Olympics are starting is a big deal. And Frank, on the way in this morning, I listened to a sports talk show on FM 96.3. It's from CBS Radio. Mm-hmm. DA is the host. And DA was saying that there are rumblings from Auburn, Alabama, and Twitter accounts that something might be going on with Coach Harsin. And that something sounds like maybe his job might be in jeopardy.
Well, you know, when he got here after that first season, they wanted to get rid of him then. So, fortunately, I don't know. Good luck to Auburn. I know they're tired of all the turnover of coaches and everything. But, I guess you're only as good as the person you hire, so maybe they'll get somebody that can settle it down over there.
It's a fluid situation. We have no hard data, but it's something to keep up with. The DA was saying that he pointed out that Auburn had recently hired 2 coaches, and then one of them stayed about 2 days and went to Oklahoma State.
Yeah, exactly.
And then another one left. So, the conjecture is, something's going on because nobody will stay at the program.
Exactly.
And then, of course, Bo Nix transferred to Oregon, your most high-profile player. So wouldn't it be something if Auburn gets rid of Coach Malzahn, pays him an outrageous sum to buy him out?
Exactly.
Hire Coach Harsin from Boise State, and then
does the same thing.
And really, a year or less than a year, they get rid of him too. We don't know that's going to happen, but that would be.
Well, when they hired him, I didn't think he was a good fit anyhow. That was my opinion. And after a year with that first season, and of course, with the great Bo Nix leaving, there had to be some problems there because his father was even better quarterback than he was.
I think so too.
And but anyway, I could tell Coach Harsin wasn't real happy with him. They had a little conflict going on the sideline sometimes. So maybe he's found his home out in Oregon, and whatever happens with Coach Harsin over there, I hope things will settle down with Auburn. They'll get back to quality football again.
They wanted all the focus to be on their basketball team, which, as we've mentioned several times, seems to be a legitimate, the favorite to win a national championship, which would be, be stunning.
That's outstanding.
Auburn has never won a basketball national championship, but no school in Alabama has ever won a basketball national championship. Auburn almost won one a couple of years ago.
Right.
Guten Morgen.
Morning.
Hey, Michael, we're joined by my father-in-law, Frank Fryer, this morning. But have you been hearing anything about what's going on at Auburn, possibly with Coach Harsin? The DA show on CBS Radio this morning was saying that there are rumblings that Coach Harsin's job could be in jeopardy.
I hadn't heard anything definite. I've heard rumors kind of like that as well, but it's just one of those things where it seems like a strange hire, strange fit. I mean, I know Harsin was a good coach at Boise State, and was at Arkansas State for 1 year, so I mean that's the closest he ever came to being in the South. But when you start losing all these coaches,
right off the bat,
definitely strange.
Mike, I didn't think he was a good fit either when they hired him. I didn't think so, but.
Well, huge win by Troy basketball on the road at Georgia State last night. Coach Cross's team is playing phenomenal. They're playing with a bunch of guys off the bench that are starting to, really contribute as well. I mean, they got a chance to win 20 games. They're 15-7.
Well, tell us what was the score.
67-63. I tried to tell everybody yesterday to take that 6.5. Troy was a 6.5 point underdog to a team that was 8-9. It was a strange line, and Troy ended up winning late in the game from the free throw line. But great game, and now they travel to Georgia Southern to play this weekend. But I mean, what a turnaround in basketball! They got a chance to win the league.
What is their record in the conference, if you know?
6-3. So they're second right now in the Sun Belt.
Well, that's exciting right there. So Troy basketball has a lot of momentum. Best team we've had in several years. Congratulations, Trojans. Boy, if they could beat Georgia Southern and then get back home, who knows what might happen. Speaking of basketball, I scanned AL.com this morning doing my show prep, and I saw that Alabama is moving forward with their plans to maybe build a new basketball arena.
$183 million, and it is beautiful.
The
Coleman Coliseum, 54 years old. It's about time they build one.
Yeah, I mean, Elvis played in the Coleman Coliseum.
Lord.
It's really hard to believe that they've waited this long to build a new gym. Of course, Auburn built their arena.
Right.
I don't know how many years ago now. Maybe about 8, I guess. But everybody gave them a hard time about only seating about 9,500 fans, and Alabama's I guess only going to be about 10,200. So Alabama's going to lose about close to 4,500 seats.
Well, that's the trend. I noticed that too, and you know what that tells me is that these athletic directors, they know that attendance at college sporting events is not going to come back to where it once was in football and in basketball. So you're right. When people build new arenas, they are smaller. They do that in the NFL too.
Exactly.
Football stadiums even, because they don't want to have all the empty seats, or I guess they think they can't sell the seats. But yeah, I noticed that too. So they're going to spend $188 million to sell 4,500 less tickets every year.
Well, you notice on a lot of home games, you won't get 2,000 people there. So you got a 10,000 seat arena, which looks real bad when they're there.
Well, we got, I guess, bad news out of Tuscaloosa as well. Alabama's defense coordinator Pete Golding was arrested Thursday morning with a DUI charge. Was actually held in jail yesterday for a certain amount of time. I'm sure he's been released on bond by now. But I don't know what to think of this. Of course, he's a guy that some Alabama fans love, some Alabama fans hate. It's just an interesting story to me more than anything, though, that Jeremy Pruitt's out there again, the former Tennessee coach, Alabama defense coordinator, who was a great defense coordinator at Alabama, lost his job with the New York Giants when they fired Joe Judge. So I don't know if Golden will keep his job. I don't know what will happen at Alabama.
Yeah, so Auburn's got coaching question marks, and Alabama's defensive coordinator goes and gets a DUI. I think he was arrested at 1 o'clock in the morning. And this was just 1 or 2 days after Saban publicly made some remarks bragging about Golden. Yeah, as a recruiter,
He
and
did that about a week ago. Sure did.
so oh well.
Sure did.
Yeah, there's plenty of Ubers you can call in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I've called them many a time. You have that over your phone. All you got to do is download the app, and a guy that makes 1.8 million should be calling Uber at night.
I agree. Well, I guess he's got the season over with, and he's got recruiting over with, and he wants to relax and have some stress relief and gets into.
But like you said, Mike, don't drive drunk. That's for sure.
Stay at home if you're going to drink. Instead of putting everybody's life at
We've all
risk.
been lucky about that. I know we have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing that's interesting with that is I mean, it's one of those type of things that I will say over the years, Tuscaloosa Police, Northport Police, they don't show any favoritism to coaches and athletes.
Yeah.
They arrest people in Tuscaloosa. It's not like they give them a pass.
Except when Coach Bryant was there.
Maybe so.
Oh, Lord.
Well, Coach Bryant.
I would imagine Coach Bryant had a driver.
He did. Quite a bit. There at the last, for sure.
He did have a driver, but Coach Bryant he wouldn't put up with any, from his players. Heck, he fired Joe Namath for something that today wouldn't even be.
A slap on the wrist.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
wouldn't even mention it. Always.
Quick story about that. You know how the coaches used to have to go to the bars and break up the fights and everything. Coach Bryant went in. They called him, some of his top players. I won't mention any names, but they were in a brawl. And he goes over there and goes to throw him across the room, and he hits one with his hand. And he breaks his hand, so he has to go in the emergency room. And a friend of mine's father was the doctor, and the x-ray hand was so big it wouldn't fit on the machine. That's how big his hand was. But finally got it done, and they kept a copy of it. So fortunately, our coaches nowadays, I don't think does that anymore, but that's the Coach Bryant for you.
I've heard a story that Coach Bryant, back when probably when you were getting out of Vietnam and
74.
going back to
76,
college,
yeah.
about in that era,
Right.
and the drugs were real bad, and players were starting to wear their hair real long.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard it from several sources. It must be true that one day Coach Bryant, he'd got some intelligence about who was participating in this on the team, and he went to Bryant Hall, the player dorm, and he just started going room to room and throwing stuff out the windows and saying, "You're gone, you're gone, you're gone." And I think he nipped that in the bud in about 10 minutes.
That'll work. The meanest coach I ever played for was Coach Fred Bowers down there in Brundage. We had about 30 people on the team, and the first game we played, we had 14. That's what we dressed out.
Oh, my
so,
God.
I mean, we were lucky to have enough to even dress out. So.
Well, you also played for the great, famous Bob Booth, didn't you?
Exactly. Yep. My last 2 years were with Coach Bob Booth.
And you were Frank was a receiver and a defensive back on the Bulldogs team. And a couple of those years, your quarterback was Randy Walls, right?
Right.
He threw passes to you.
Randy was a year younger than me, and matter of fact, y'all say a prayer for him today. He's going to the doctor for a checkup in reference to his cancer. So
We will.
keep him in your prayers.
But y'all had some really strong teams. But I've always been impressed and kind of appreciated your sports experience in high school because you played all three sports, didn't you?
Yeah. When I wasn't playing, I was thinking about playing. So, yeah, I didn't miss a snap for about 3 snaps in 2 years on the football program. So.
And then you played basketball, then you played baseball, and then you've been playing softball until a couple of years ago. And we were talking the other day. You tell me how big adult softball is, and that some people are playing this game until they're in their 90s, and your brother is still playing, and
right.
How old is he?
Right. He's 78.
Tell everybody who your brother is. They'll know.
Coach Johnny Dunn from Brundage. Coached a long time in this area, about 33 years, and was an excellent coach and a good person.
And a principal, and
right.
Administrator.
Yep.
So what do you think about moving back to Pike County? Has it changed a lot, or what?
The campus looks so much better. You know, it's unreal. Matter of fact, my grandmother went to the old Troy Normal College when it was up on the hill, so She taught school down there in Spring Hill. So yes, I've seen all the changes over the years, and Troy is really a beautiful city now. I'll have to say I'm real impressed with all the facilities and the town.
Yeah, I'm reading articles about Hartson. It's from the Auburn Wire, talking about his job security in Dallas. A few more articles from the Montgomery Advertiser. Auburn football school in danger of becoming a non-factor under Brian Hartson. And then they're even mentioning names as his replacement. You remember Baylor's coach Matt Rule left Baylor and went to the Carolina Panthers, and
right.
He might be a possible candidate for the Auburn job.
Yeah, they were also in reference to the basketball gymnasium. They got some advice on them from the Baylor arena out there, and then also the pavilion out of Ole Miss there. And so I hope that goes through on that $183 million arena there at Alabama. They need it.
That's a lot of money, but you know who likes it is my older brother is a bond dealer. They like it because they're going to float bonds to take on even more debt. I know they've been doing some fundraising, but I don't think that they've raised $188 million. And also, they're in the same story or a separate story. They mentioned that they're seem to be moving forward with a $26 million golf facility for the college golf team, including a new 9-hole golf course somewhere. So, you know, I'm worried about the economy and where's all this money going to come from, but apparently the University of Alabama Athletics is full speed ahead. Let's build. Let's bar.
Well, a lot of...
It was a guy that gave a law school like $26 million, but then he said some disparaging comments, Culver House, and then they actually gave the money back to the guy. He turns down $26 million.
Oh,
What was the doctor in Dothan that just gave a huge amount of money to, I think, UAB?
Yeah, they gave $100 million.
Wow.
I was fixing to say $183 million is nobody to some of the billionaires that graduated from Alabama. So the money's there and always has been at Alabama.
Well, at some point they probably do. I always thought that the Coleman Coliseum was fine. You know, they renovated it about a decade ago, and it really brightened it up. But I'm in the minority. Most people say no, you get a new one. And
I've always thought it's a good place to go to a basketball game as well. I've never had a negative experience there. I've always actually enjoyed it.
Exactly.
Seems perfectly adequate to me. I like the fact that Alabama can get 15,000, and they do from time to time. I mean, they sold it out against.
They'll sell it out against Kentucky this weekend for sure.
They sold it. Your cousin went to the Alabama Baylor basketball game because he made some Facebook posts from the game, and I asked him. I said, "Is it a hard sellout?" And he said, "Oh boy, yes." He was in the nosebleed seats with his son.
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of Alabama games. I lived in Birmingham over the years. I actually had season tickets, and I've seen it sold out many a time. I am kind of shocked. Tuscaloosa is 125,000 people if you count Northport.
Right.
And you got Birmingham,
Right.
surrounding areas over 1 million people. I don't know why you at least don't go to like 12,000 instead of 10,300, whatever it's going to be.
As soon as I read that, I said, wait a minute. You know, sure they'll sell out 15, 20,000 some games. And now you're not going to have the seats, you know.
You know who sells out more than anybody is gymnastics.
That's what I was thinking to say. Gymnastics, we're super big in that. And you know, I'd love to even take my daughter up there to see some of that now. They're the best. They're one of the best teams in America.
They've gone down. Now they just got beat by Auburn.
Yep.
Because Auburn has the best gymnast in the world as a college freshman at Auburn.
So I guess
she was a 5-star recruit, a blue chip recruit.
Yep.
I guess by going to college, you keep your amateur status, so you can still compete in the Olympics. I guess.
Exactly.
Well, you know that's all changed. That's another thing. I don't think in the past you could get girls that were on the U.S. gymnastics team because they all had endorsement deals and had been paid, and that made them ineligible. But now with this name, image, and likeness, it doesn't matter at all. Matter of fact, I'm sure she's getting money from some Auburn supporting business for her name, image, and likeness at Auburn?
Well, you know, athletes with all the work they do, that's the hardest work you'll ever do. I worked harder what little bit of football I played than I did any job I've ever had, and they deserve the money and give it to them. I mean, we've been getting rich off of them for years. You think about that. So, I mean, heck, give them the money. They need it.
I kind of feel more bad for the guys that didn't get it.
Exactly. There were some that sure deserved
Well, I'm
it.
going to disagree with my two esteemed colleagues that's y'all are getting into the athletes have been exploited line, and I've written columns saying that, well, if they're being exploited, they're lining up to be exploited because they all want those scholarships.
Yep.
And you know they're getting a free education, all the meals they can eat, and these are good meals. If you've ever been to these training tables, dorms, now apartments, all the swag they can get, you know, workout suits and the finest health care and training.
But why not, Bill? They're making millions of dollars for the school. I mean, luckily I played where we had sponsors, and believe me, you enjoy it. You want a better sponsor. So that's the same thing they're doing, in my opinion. And take it, take the money and run if you're that good.
Well, the Alabama athletes are making millions of dollars for the school.
Exactly.
Troy athletes aren't making millions. Troy's athletes are losing millions of dollars funding this athletic department. So the question I always thought was, well, if you're going to pay the Alabama football players, you got to pay the Jack State or the Troy, and then and if you're going to pay the football players who do work their butt off, you got to pay the girls cross country athlete who's practicing.
Exactly.
You got the volleyball, and 95% of these athletic programs actually lose money. But it's water under the bridge because it's here, and you're not going to put the genie back in the bottle.
Well, that's been going on for a long time. When Wilbur Jackson signed with Alabama, the teams were trying to get him, so he wakes up on signing day. There's a SS 396 with Alabama colors, white stripes and crimson, back seat full of clothes, and we won't say what was in the envelope, so that's been going on forever. And it's all about money anyhow. You know that. Athletes are getting paid. If you're good enough to get paid, you're going to get money.
Well, my dad was a college athlete, and he wouldn't trade anything for that experience. I just never heard him say, as hard as he worked, and they worked a lot harder back then and almost really probably got killed. I never heard him say that, oh gosh, they were exploiting me.
Well, cause
he
you play for nothing if you get to play for Bear Bryant,
Well, they loved it. They wanted to do it. There were walk-ons galore, scholarships galore. And then they were big men on campus,
right,
treated like rock stars. And then when they got done playing, you don't think that didn't give them benefits? You don't think my dad didn't get benefits the rest of his life because he played football at Alabama?
Well, that's it. I mean, that's an endorsement that you were talking about a minute ago. That's automatic. That goes to wherever you go to school, pretty much. You're going to
be kind of, people are going to want to help you if they can. I'm talking about once your eligibility is expired. But the way I see college sports right now, every dang decision they are making is turning off more and more fans. Nobody's a bigger college sports fan than me growing up, and I don't watch the basketball like I used to because I can't keep up with all the transfers. Mm-hmm. Football is starting to turn me off. I've quit watching the NFL. So I think they're going to kill the golden goose at some point. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you can look at it that way, but people are going to pay. And they're still, when you saw after COVID, everybody's just dying to get back in there. Like Mike was saying the other day, nobody wearing masks, but they were ready to see ball. So I feel like that's going to always be there. You're going to have fans. If you get a chance to go to a professional game, like we don't have a team except Birmingham getting Birmingham Stallions back. Mm-hmm. And that's all we've ever had in Alabama was,
college
that pretty much.
Yeah.
So the pro games and also college, they're going to go. You're not going to lose the fans, but the money's out there, so why not let the kids have it too? That's my opinion.
The money is in.
I'm interested in how in Birmingham now, the BJCC, they have like the AAA version of the New Orleans Pelicans play in Birmingham, and I'd be interested to see what the attendance are for those games. It's like, you know, the NBA's D League is what they call it.
Right, right.
Well,
that's kind of the way it works. You get minor league baseball, you get AA baseball here, you get USFL, you got the Birmingham Thunderbolts. I used to watch those games. You had the Ring League team that played in the BJCC.
Right.
You had the World League of Football. Shane Gailey, Troy's head coach, used to coach.
Exactly.
That's just kind of the way it's always been.
you look at minor league baseball. I remember my brother Rush made this point when the Biscuits were. People worked for a long time to get AA baseball back to Montgomery.
Yeah.
And he made a statement that is proven to be really prescient. He said, you know, yes, there'll be a ton of excitement the first couple years, and the stadium is really what the part of the appeal is. Everybody likes the charming stadiums. But you watch it, after about year 3, 4, 5, 6, that interest fades and attendance.
Exactly. Real fast.
And so, you know, Huntsville, well, I think they got some outside of Huntsville got a team back, but Mobile's team, a lot of cities that had minor league baseball.
They don't care how many fans, really, because the fans does a percentage, and yes, it helps. I'm not saying do away with the fans. But if you're a team, you've got sponsors, you've got your $10 million up front, so they're going to play till that runs out. And if the fans produce enough money to stay there, they'll be there.
Well, in sport, in pro and college, it's the TV networks that drive everything.
Now,
in
yes,
college, it's all ESPN, which is Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
As long as they are paying these big contracts, the sport will be okay. In the NFL, you're right. You know, the stadiums have gotten smaller. If you watch a lot of games, they're not sellouts, even at the 65,000 seat stadiums. But they've got massive TV contracts from CBS, Fox. So it's TV programming.
Well, Mike, you
it's
played
popular TV. I've just saw that the semifinal NFL playoffs. One of those games had 50 million viewers.
well with everything now. You know, you can watch it on your cell phone, and that's just cutting out a lot of fans. You don't have to go anymore. And
Yeah, you don't have
Mike, you know, you played and been in these big stadiums where you travel and there might be 40 people in it. You got all this metal and steel and concrete, and you're just looking at it. So that's like with the Olympics.
It's one of those things. You know, I was in Biloxi the other day, and I was at the Bow, and you know, Mobile lost their minor league team, which was at Henry Arid Stadium, a beautiful stadium I've been to before. And now MGM Grand built minor league park right across from their casino, and it's a beautiful ballpark where they play AA ball now.
Right.
And of course, Pensacola's got a AA team as well. But I can't believe Mobile would have lost a AA minor league affiliate.
Well,
but they did.
All these teams that are getting these nice new stadiums. Birmingham just built one downtown, I think.
Oh yeah, the Birmingham Stadium is gorgeous.
Here's what history tells. They'll do fine for 1 to 6 years, and then it'll start to go downhill. I hope they do well. I mean, I like going to they're fun to go to a Biscuits game or a minor league game. But
It is.
Frankly, I can't afford to do it more than what I used to like in Montgomery was when somebody gave me tickets.
Exactly.
Or they had some nice luxury suites, and sometimes people that had rented the luxury suites would let you use their luxury suite.
Well, to
And
fill
that
up the
was good.
stadium, they'd give away hundreds of tickets just if people would go. And you give them the tickets, and most of them would throw them in the
How
garbage
many
can
Biscuit
anyway.
games did you go to in Montgomery?
I'd go to 4 or 5 every year. But mainly I enjoyed the Alabama-Auburn game. That was the best one in the stadium the whole time, and it would fill up when that one was played.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful stadium, and it sure helped downtown Montgomery.
It
and
did, yeah.
they've come a long way from D-ball to, AA.
You know, talking about these basketball arenas.
Patterson Field. When did Patterson Field have the Tigers organization? What years was that?
I'd say back in the '60s, Mike. But yeah, Alan Trammell, a lot of those players come through there.
I played in
Jim Leland was the coach.
Right, exactly.
I can tell you, date it some. I played on the Dixie Youth Tournament team that played for a state championship in Montgomery when I was 12 years old, so that would have been 1977. And I remember when the team went, all the teams that were participating in the state tournament went to a Montgomery Rebels game, and they recognized us.
Yep.
So in 1977, I know they had the Detroit Tigers AA team was still in Montgomery. Because I went.
If Auburn parts ways with Harsin out there right now, I mean, you're basically in February. You're almost getting ready for spring training. Who in the world would you try to bring in?
Bill Clark? No.
I mean, yeah, that would be the most logical choice to me. Somebody in state.
You're exactly.
Has relationships with the high school coaches.
Yep.
I can't think of anybody else. I mean, I'm sure that there'd be some names they'd go after. Neil Brown would have been a possibility if he would have won more at West Virginia, but Neil's in the 2 bowl games. But one season he finished 6-4. One season he finished 6-7. I know he'd probably want to get back, south, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
How much would Auburn be on the hook for Coach Harsin? Have you seen what he probably had at least a 4-year contract for? I'm sure he's getting paid at least $4 million a year.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. With Malzahn taking the Central Florida job, maybe they were able to get some of that money back. But I think they had to give him $10 million, or was it the $20 million guaranteed when they bought out Malzahn?
I think $10 million was guaranteed, and he finagled around and got $20 million out of him.
Yeah. I think he did a good job, and sometimes they space out those payments over years. Mm-hmm. But I think Malzahn just went ahead and got a big lump. It's like winning the lottery, and you take the instant payout option. He took the instant.
I would be interested in going to get Clawson at Wake Forest. Maybe that's a guy that wins with not very talented players or not many great recruits. That's a name I would think about that maybe would be a good coach at Auburn. I mean, Wake Forest won 10 or 11 games last year.
Gosh, if they do this, there'll probably be even more players for Auburn that enter the transfer portal. It could be seismic news. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen, but caught me out of the blue.
It makes you wonder what some of these former coaches that are leaving the program are saying. Like, Derek Mason used to be the former Vanderbilt coach. Bobo used to be Georgia's offense coordinator. Used to head coach Colorado State. Now you hire a guy from Seattle Seahawks, Austin Davis, to come be your offense coordinator. He's there for less than a month, and then he leaves. Very strange.
Auburn really wants this. They want this vaccine mandate to come back. The government said that any health facility or university employee had to be vaccinated for this virus, and Harsin would have already been gone because apparently he is not vaccinated. But then they rescinded, or this went into the legal system and it's being appealed, so they are not enforcing that vaccine mandate. But if they were, Auburn could get rid of Harsin for cause and wouldn't owe him a dime.
That's the key. That's the key.
Could Bruce Pearl coach both? Could he coach basketball?
He'd bring a crowd, wouldn't he?
Rush Hickson can.
Oh, Lord.
He can coach.
Well, at one time, you had Tommy Tuberville living there. You had Malzahn living there. You had Larry Blakeney living there. You had Gene Chiswick living there. You had Pat Dye living there still.
Little Bowden.
Bill Almer lives over on Lake Martin.
Yeah.
You got so many retired coaches there. You could probably find somebody to fill in for you.
And you had the one that also stayed for a long time and still there is Wayne Hall, that was Pat Dye's defensive coordinator.
And a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's a good one.
I think he became a contractor, and Auburn's done well with that. But you're right. That is just like a little village of former coaches that live in the loveliest village. It says a lot for Auburn. They like the quality of life in Auburn.
Well, there were a lot of people moving out of Montgomery as far as the public schools and moving up there just for the schools.
Isn't that true? I've noticed that too. A lot of people commute every day.
Steve Scott, Ray Scott's son, and I played a lot of softball together, and we met for breakfast one morning, and he was asking me about that because he knew I'm a former coach and teacher, and my wife was teaching. And he said, Frank, I'm going to just move up there and drive this 60 miles back to where he was working for his father, Whitetail Institute. And he made that move just for his kids.
I've always, a ton of people do it from Lee County.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, well, if people are willing to drive 50 miles from Auburn, why can't they live in Troy and drive 50 miles to Montgomery? It's the exact same commute, just as easy. Still live in a college town, have all the advantages that Auburn had, although the schools in Pike County aren't perceived as being as good as the schools in Auburn. But we know one thing, people are still trying to get out of the public schools in Montgomery, and where are they going? Where are they moving?
Well, Prattville said don't send them anymore. Wetumpka said they didn't need any more, and Millbrook don't want them.
So they're all going
and
to.
the crime rate is so high, it's unreal now in Montgomery. Thank God I'm out of there. And nothing against the town. People that love it, great. It's not a bad city. I'm not going to say that. There's a lot of things I didn't even go see. Being a history major, I wished I'd have gone downtown to see them. But, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, everybody's going to Pike Road.
Exactly. Well, they filled that up already. It's unreal. They, what are they, 7A now already? So that tells you how fast that program grew. And they're good, so it's amazing.
Well, it's...
Yeah, need to mention the Troy girls win last night. I didn't even check that score. Did they play at home last night?
I think they did. No, that's. Are they playing Saturday? They're playing South Alabama on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, the Troy men will travel to play Georgia Southern.
Here are the state high school basketball rankings. I'm going to give a quick glance at this. See what teams we have in our viewership area that are ranked. Class 6A. Class 7A and Class 6A, oh, this is girls. Hardly see any teams from our area except for the Park Crossing girls.
You got Auburn in 7A.
Let's go to the boys.
7A.
All
Enterprise.
the big good schools are from North Alabama, it looks
exactly.
like.
Enterprise is only one in 7A.
You got Class 6A boys. Eufaula comes in at number 5. That's a team from South Alabama.
Right.
Man, it is something. It's striking to see all the highly ranked teams. Almost all of them are from North Alabama. Pike Road is number 6 in 5A. They're 5A now. They'll be going to 7A, like you said, soon.
Charles Henderson's 4. John, let's see. Pike Road is 6, like you said.
Well, we need to. Charles Henderson needs to beat Pike Road and get revenge for that football blowout.
Yep. Hey, for sure.
Class 2A, Geneva County is number 2, 21-6. Their good best player is the running back that committed to Alabama. Highland Home is number 5. Arrington is number 6.
Yep.
So in the smaller schools, smaller classifications, you have South Alabama teams. You've got Georgiana, Brantley.
Yep. Red Level.
And the big schools, it's always been that way, though. It seems like the best, consistently good basketball is, for some reason, played in North Alabama. Why is that? And
when we played, I don't know why, the teams out of South would go up to the state. They do well the first round or so. And then when it got down to it, it was all 99% of the time a team north of Montgomery would beat us.
Well, there's more population in North Alabama. I know that.
Exactly.
Sampson is known for lady girls basketball. They've won several state championships on that.
Well, this is playoff.
At least that's what the sign tells me when I drive through there.
Is Sampson 2A, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're getting ready to get to playoff season, where all the games matter in high school and in college. So let's do a quick recap of the teams. I'll do a quick recap of the teams I'm most interested in or keep up with. Auburn, odds-on favorite to win the national championship. I mean, enough said about them. Alabama seems like on any given game day can beat any team, but they can also lose to any team. Troy, having their best team in years, has a chance to win the regular season conference championship and get to 20 wins. The Lady Trojans are as good as usual. Charles Henderson has their best basketball team in a long time. Pike Liberal Arts is a heavy favorite to win back-to-back basketball state championship. Although I was stunned to learn yesterday that from Forrest Lee that Pike Liberal Arts basketball team lost in the eighth.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like 2A in football in private school and 2A in basketball and other sports seem to be better than the 3A.
They are, and this year
Ataga, Stevia Academy. I mean, all those teams. What's the team up in past Auburn that's always really good in football? Beat Pike Liberal Arts. I think Pike Liberal Arts only beat them by 3 this year. Chambers is always good too.
Yeah, the best.
A lot of those over in the Valley area, they will beat you.
Well, the Targa Academy is obviously got some really good athletes. They won in Prattville. I guess the Targa Academy is in Prattville, and I would love to see them play in Troy, but still, it was surprising. They only lost by Pike only lost by 3 points. I think it's their second loss all year.
It is. They're 20-2.
They lost to a team in this huge tournament they were in the Panhandle of Florida, where there were schools from 5 or 6 states, public school and private schools in this tournament, and Pike Liberal Arts lost in the finals in the last second. So that was their only other.
No, that was a funny tournament. It was called the Sandestin Hilton Classic, and they didn't play in Sandestin. They played in Freeport. Sandestin to Freeport's about a 30-minute drive. So that was kind of strange how that ended up being what the name of that was.
Hey, do you ever go to Sandestin in that little shopping village? And
I go once a week, right? It's addicted. You go in there and you give them your email, and they send you $10 off this, 20% off that.
Yep.
I mean, it's
and you're going to go.
I've got so much junk, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Stuff you need to give away to Goodwill or somebody for sure.
Yeah, I've got so many pairs of shoes from all those different Clarks. You know, Clarks. I love Clarks. Clarks are down there, and then they've got the Nike store. They got the Columbia store. They've got the Adidas store, Under Armour store.
Well, that you're talking about these little outlet stores, but they have a little in Sandestin proper, a little shopping village with some bars and restaurants and stuff too.
Yeah, you're talking about Baytown Wharf.
Baytown Wharf, okay.
Yeah, that's a nice little area back there too, but it's kind of a long way to get back there off 98. It takes a little while.
Yeah. Mike, I'm going to try to recruit you into something your dad and I was talking about the other day was softball. Now, I know you play baseball, and you were talking about it's just quickness. You know, it's eye-hand coordination and baseball, and you've got all that. So go out and play with you a good church team just starting out. Go to the batting cage and get you the best bats you can get, and you're going to be surprised how far that softball will go. And
by the way, how much does a good softball bat cost?
Even high school bats are $150. And
I sold all that for years.
Right.
Working for a sporting goods company. That's what I did for a living. I actually.
Did you sell name brand softball bats too?
I did, yeah.
Like Easton? Well, see, the first endorsement came years ago when I started playing. There was a Howard's team out of North Carolina, and they were first real big boys that started getting everybody signed. And now you'd be surprised. I was telling Bill how much these players get paid in that division, and it's unreal. And your daddy said, you know, if they get hurt playing, I'm gonna fire them that week. I remember you talking to him about that.
That was a weird comment he gave. It's
Now,
really ridiculous. how he came up with that.
Mike, we played for places where you could get time off, and if we need to be off on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we just get somebody to cover for us. And the Tom's Peanut team hired all their players and made them salesmen at the car lots around there. So when they needed them to go play ball, that was automatic, and they were being paid good money every game.
In other words, a softball is, well, we've known this in Troy. It's a big deal.
It is.
Well, it's called the Sportsplex. That
Right.
was, when Bo Gaylord proposed that Sportsplex, he said that, it's going to pay for itself with the people that you bring into the town.
Yep.
And don't you think that's, how many, I don't know if they have, do they still have all the tournaments they used to have?
Not like it used to be. I think it's a money thing now, but there's been as many as 50. Down in Dothan, we played in a tournament down there in that new complex down there. There was 150 teams.
Wow.
And they're coming from all over the United
And they
States.
gotta
You
have
think
hotels,
about the money that
eating
generates.
restaurants. Yeah.
I mean, and it's not as big as it used to be now, but I think that's because there's not as many good sponsors anymore. I don't know what they're
Well,
doing
it's all
with the money.
economics, and then businesses are cutting back where they can. So
Right.
businesses that used to sponsor softball teams are saying, well, I got to cut back somewhere. Where can I cut back? I can cut back on the softball sponsorship team.
When I worked for myself, I sponsored 3 or 4 teams, and then I got to come back down to Troy and play. And we had the Buffalo Wild Wings that sponsored us in, and we had a real good team down here in this league and won it most of the time. And it's all about money. It's all about getting
Well,
name
Lagoon
players.
Park would have huge tournaments.
Oh, that was considered the softball capital of the South right there. And then they built Spain Park too. You see, so Lagoon Park and Spain Park, you can play 150 teams no problem.
Well, I don't know. $300 for a softball bat. And I back when I played ball, you still used wood bats. These aluminum bats were first coming in.
Yep.
And they made this little ding. They were real hollow sound.
Yep.
Yeah, the game ball. I don't know what you guys played with.
Yeah, a lot of our bats just 3 years ago when I tore my shoulder, so I got out of it for a little while. I tore it twice, and so I can't. If you can't play as good as you want to, you take a break from it. I may play again this summer, but the bats, and it's unreal. And see, fortunately, I knew people like you did. You were a salesman, and we'd get them at cost. And we'd get $150, $200, $300 bat for $100. So that's the advantage of playing and knowing somebody.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those type things. I was kind of, I won't get into schools I work with, but man,
Right.
there were some schools that had $30,000 to $40,000 budgets for softball.
Exactly, and that's unreal, isn't it? People wouldn't think, softball. And
Well, I hope
some of those are local to Troy too. I was shocked.
we had the Charles Simpson softball coach on, and he's stressing how important fundraising is. It's expensive to get uniforms and bats, and they want a PA system for the press box. And
who is a softball coach over
I
there?
can't remember her
for the
name, but
ladies?
she's a
I
good
was
friend
to say
of
I went
Carrie.
out and watched
Her
them
name
practice,
was,
and
Neely.
She played at Troy.
Yeah.
Coach Neely. She was a star player at Troy and had a real promising first year, but it's a expensive sport. All these sports are, now so many people play travel ball, and I don't know how these families come up with that money.
it's unreal. Even at a small age, they're traveling at 6 and 7, 8 years old now, and that's ridiculous. That's a ton of money.
Well, we want to thank our sponsors today, Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep. I know Jason Gregory had a birthday, I think maybe earlier this week, so happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jason.
And we're going to take a Milo's tea break.
We've got a hard break.
Hard break at 8.
8 o'clock is what we've been told.
We can't take a break until 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes. There you go.
Now, if you want to go get that Milo's tea,
We won't know about it.
we won't know, and then Frank and I will just.
I had to walk in there and see if my daughter's still playing on her tablet or watching her cartoons.
How y'all doing with the COVID, Mike? I know you just had.
I'm such a great babysitter of my little girl. I got to take to preschool here in about 40 minutes.
Yeah. How you doing with that COVID, Mike? Your whole family, I know, had it.
We're good. know, I'll be honest, I kind of had some lingering, a little bit of lack of energy a little bit this week. I tested negative on Sunday, but I'll be honest with you, I was never able to shut down the country for a light headache and fatigue. That's all I had.
Yeah.
So,
You're very lucky then.
I am very lucky, and I told my wife, you know, we panicked and we ate outside, and
Right.
you know, we tried to do all the right things and wear our masks and do everything. And I think if we would have gotten the Delta, we would have been scared to death. But actually, Omicron doesn't seem to be as bad.
My wife
from what
had
I've
both,
heard.
and she still got some lingering effects. You know, the smell, the taste, and all that stuff. So, it's really slowed her down a bunch because she likes to go a lot. But I saw that myself. Unfortunately, knock on wood, I hadn't had it, and but it's tough. I've seen a lot of people.
Terry had it.
Yeah.
You know, I would say it'd be interesting to take a poll. Now, a lot of people had it and didn't know they had it, but even of the people that just know they had it, it seems to me that surely 70% of the country has had this thing by now, probably maybe even more than that.
Well, the doctor on TV, nothing to do with Fauci and that crew, said, you can bet everybody's going to get this Omicron. Just get ready because it's just like the regular flu, pretty much.
A cold. I think everybody will. And then the herd immunity we talk so much about, it's never really been a big deal because it seems like when you have these variants, it starts all over. So even if you've had it before, it doesn't necessarily protect you from the new variant because the virus is different enough. And so the Delta, it was almost gone, and then Delta came, and it just numbers went through the roof. Then Delta went away, and now Omicron's even worse.
Exactly.
So but you think, well, if we've had all these other variants, there's going to be another variant, which is probably true. But another thing that I've noticed is just simple common sense is when do these variants and bad outbreaks happen? In the cold and flu season, in the winter.
Exactly.
And then the cases, you know, they track the flu and the cold, and we're getting ready to get out of the cold and flu season. And so I would think by March, April, May, things are going to be much better.
Well, you don't hear much of the flu anymore, so some positive things had to come out of it. You know, we washed our hands more and we covered our face, so you got to look at the good versus the bad too. And you know, we're gonna have some more of these. It's all about chemical stuff, and you know that it's been that way. The plague back in 1918, Spanish flu, and all that kind of stuff. But in the military, they do that stuff on purpose. There's a lot of that that's not known about because, you know, they do that, I guess, to do away with the big people say to help the population of the world, you know. But this has killed a lot of people. It really has, and it's something to think about, you know. You can take it any way you want to. You can walk around without a mask, or you can put one on. So, but the problem it has is it's alienated a lot of people, and it's caused a lot of anger.
I agree.
At first, I'd say, why don't you have your mask on? Then the more I thought about it, I said, well, get outside in the fresh air. That's what'll help you.
Well, that's a good point. Is that if everybody has strongly held views on the virus and the protection measures.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can deny that it's completely polarized the country. You have family members that are estranged from each other because they take different positions on.
Oh yeah, they'll fuss and fight about it.
Friends of lifelong friends are now abolished, and that's so sad. And I mean, it didn't need to happen.
Escalate
but
that, right. Did y'all hear about? I guess it was almost a year ago now about the checkout counter at Walmart. They got in a real big hassle. The security man got over there, and the lady that asked the man to put his mask on, the checkout lady, was actually shot and killed.
Yeah.
Over a mask.
I see these reports. Yeah, people getting fights all the time, arguments on airplanes and stores.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they call it the new normal, and you know what I say is I like the old normal.
Exactly.
The heck with this new normal. I don't want the new normal. It's not better. And if we're going to go in this forward the next 10 years being afraid of every little virus, and now some people are saying that you're going to have to wear masks on airplanes forever. It's kind of like when they have these terrorist protection measures at airports, you know, they're not temporary, they last forever, or where they create a new government agency. Once they create it, man, it's only going to grow. It's not going to go away.
Well, there's so much martial law now, Bill, about it. Like you land in Japan, you hadn't got one on, they'll lock you up, and Australia especially.
Oh, China, well, we're talking about the Olympics. I was interviewed by a grad student from China about one of my COVID stories on Zoom, and I asked her about, she spoke pretty good English, and I asked her about what's life like in China. And they have a zero COVID policy. Man, if there's one case anywhere, they are going to shut down
They're
going to lock you down.
You remember seeing
they're
them,
not going to have work in that town. You're not coming out of your apartment.
You remember seeing them going around.
She was stunned kind of about how life was like in Troy, Alabama. But what I picked up on is how accepting she was of the government shutting down her life and controlling her life. They're completely compliant and know to obey, which more and more of the world is becoming like that. Is, you know, if
Hook's Barbecue, let's go get some for breakfast.
Have you been to Hook's Barbecue since you've been back in Troy?
Love it. I went to Hook's before I got, you know, when I was still in Montgomery. It's good stuff.
Now, what's the best barbecue in Alabama? Do you have a?
Well, there's so many good ones. What's that?
You still think it's Dreamland, or do you think that's just past reputation?
I think the original Dreamland is still
Exactly.
way
Now,
up there for me.
the one in Montgomery went down fast, and then it came back. You know, it
shut
closed
down
one
now.
time. It did.
The one in Tuscaloosa is really good.
That's what I've heard, Mike. I heard that's one of the best. Yeah.
You know,
Archibald's in Tuscaloosa is real good too.
that's what people brag about Archibald's more now than they do Dreamland. Well, when your dad and I went on our barbecue pilgrimage, we ate at 3 barbecue restaurants in one day. The one outside of Troy, on going north to Montgomery.
Yeah, that is good now.
That is good.
It
Very
is
good.
real good, and people
We didn't go
don't think
south
about
or
it.
Hooks, or we would have gone to Hooks. Then we went to the famous Jim's Barbecue on the Collier County line.
Yep.
And then after the Alabama baseball game we went to Dreamland, the original Dreamland.
You think we compete? Go watch those barbecue things.
But I'm going to tell you that
they travel miles to compete against each other.
Who won the barbecue competition on that day was Jim's Barbecue. Was by easily the best in my opinion. We got a jumbo barbecue sandwich.
Jim's sandwiches are definitely some of the best I've ever had.
A friend of mine wrote a book on it, and he gave me a copy. So it's amazing. Just the ones in the South, like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and there's some good ones.
Hey, let's talk. Speaking about book, let's give a plug to your wife's recently published first novel, Spencer and Lulu: A Love Story by Elizabeth Fryer. Go to Amazon.com if you're a pet lover. This is a touching little love story about Lulu and Spencer and some other dogs y'all have had.
Exactly. I grew up not supposed to cry at anything, but I couldn't get through the first chapter on that one. Those were wonderful pets. They really were. And 2 of them were rescues, and that's what we do a lot of.
Yeah. So I'm just impressed that Liz, she had some grief when she lost Spencer and Lulu, and then she turned it into a story, and then she figured out how to self-publish it. And now she's getting royalty checks from Amazon.
Yep.
So anybody that wants to write a book and doesn't think they can do it or it's too hard, no, Elizabeth Fryer shows that she didn't have to really, she probably paid a little fee when but they pay most of the expenses and printing and layout. And once they have recouped their money by selling books, then they start paying you.
Well, they've come
right here, right now. It's the Premier Super Truck Sale. 1,500, 2,500, 3,500, and even a 4,500. Ram, Ford, Chevy, GMC. Over 55 trucks. Super Truck Sale price. Save up to $10,000 on select models. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Shipping Wars is back and bigger than ever.
More work, more money.
These shippers have a long road ahead. Who will come out on top?
If we can get it there on time, we'll make some good money.
Shipping Wars. New episodes Tuesdays at 10. Only on A&E. In the market market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.
Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC.
The Walmart Distribution Center in Brundage is now hiring. We've extended our $2,000 signing bonus until the end of January 2022. And you can go back to school with our Live Better You program. Apply online today.
At Cost Plus 10%, we offer your favorite brands at the best price. At Piggly Wiggly, we keep it simple. We price our products at cost, then add 10% at checkout. We carry all your favorite name brand foods, and we accept manufacturer coupons. Find us on Facebook and see our weekly specials.
Right here, right now, it's the Premier Super Truck Sale. 1,500, 2,500, 3,500, and even a 4,500. Ram, Ford, Chevy, GMC. Over 55 trucks. Super Truck Sale price. Save up to $10,000 on select models. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
You know, so, and has Mike got a degree in that, or he just done these? He's probably OJT.
He got some kind of college degree, so.
Yeah.
You know what I think about those college degrees, too.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Man, I'd give anything to have back all those years. Like Dr. Ralph and I talked about that. He actually signed my readmittance thing when I came back from Vietnam. My sister
back when you were in college, you could actually save up money and work, and
right.
Now it's so expensive.
Well, if it wasn't
we
for the
can't
GI
talk too much
Bill,
about it because
right.
Troy University depends on those college
Oh,
students.
no, yeah, I don't talk about that stuff because it's money. But,
we're back on the air. You got to be careful what you're saying off the air.
It was all
welcome
good.
back. Frank brought in some great donuts from Trojan Donuts.
Right.
And Steve has had to go off, and we have automatic commercial breaks this morning. So we were just gabbing away without knowing we were on. But today is Friday, February the 4th. Today is also is it the opening ceremonies of the Beijing
It
Olympics?
is opening.
And I know that NBC, as long as I've been alive, has been the network that covers the Olympics. So if you're into bobsledding and slalom skiing and downhill skiing,
curling,
ice hockey, you know, I do like the downhill skiing.
Oh yeah. That's fun.
If America has got a decent hockey team, I'll watch that.
Right.
But you know, there's not many winter sports that know anything about her, and that.
Well, this is the South, Hoss. You don't wake up with snow and ice. And anyway, y'all were talking about skiing and learning how. I was stationed in Fort Carson, Colorado for the last 2 years. I don't know why I came back to Alabama. Living right at the foot of Pikes Peak, and it's beautiful. It's just like a card you would get in the mail. And y'all were talking about skiing, and I was playing baseball out there at the time, and my lieutenant went every weekend. He had one of those first Porsches and everything, and he said, "Come on, Sarge, go with me." And I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I don't know anything about skiing, and all I've heard is bad news about it being from the South." And so he stayed on me for about 6 months, and I was going to go, but 2 weeks before, y'all were talking about how people died.
Yeah.
This guy squared up a pine tree doing about 60 miles an hour, and he was stuck in it. So that wound up my ski trips. I went one time and fell up and down the beginner slope, but it's tough. I got to slide just a little bit, as they say, just skied a little bit.
The first time I went, my parents gave us a trip to Vail, Colorado. What a great gift and trip. Mm-hmm. And we took a half a day, Bobby and I, at ski school.
Right.
And it helped.
That's smart. It does.
And so that was enough, the basics, and we would still fall from time to time.
You were talking about, I fell off the lift.
I could get up, and there'd be times where you could ski pretty good and go down a big hill, and it's really a ton of fun.
It was embarrassing. I fall off the ski lift on the beginner course, and a lady's standing there, and she's over there trying to pick me up, and I'm supposed to be this big bad athlete, you know. And I get started, I don't even make the turns. And all I had to do was, like you did, go to ski school and learn a little bit about it. And, you know, it's fun when you finally get up on it. But, man, that's something you have to go up with.
I could snow ski and have done it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've never been able to water ski. I only tried one time. And I never could roller skate at all these dang birthday parties that my friends would have at the skating rink.
What's the saying? Snow skiing, you lean forward. Water skiing, you lean backwards. First thing I.
That guy at all the skating parties at Hilton Roller Ring.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, yeah, I think I did go to a couple in Troy. I moved to Troy when I was 11 or 12, so I did go to some, but it was usually my Opelika days. But man, that was embarrassing. I mean, I had to just sit on the side or watch everybody, and because I didn't like it. Ice skating I've never done. The only time I tried to water ski, Coach Bradshaw took us to their family cabin at Lake Martin one day, and Charles his son could really water ski. And bless Coach Bradshaw's heart, he said, well, we're going to teach Bill. And I bet I tried to get up 4 or 5 times.
Exactly.
And finally they said, Bill, don't worry about it. And that's the only time I ever even tried to do it.
Mike, they tried to teach me how about coming off. I failed so many times. But the one time they said, come on, let's get off the dock, and try. So instead of me getting my skis up, they go down. And I'm holding on to the rope, and further down I go. I turned it loose, and I said, that's it. I'm never water skiing again. I almost drowned with that mess. But it's fun.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of people that could really ski.
Right.
We skied at Elliot Whaley's house at Gumblood Lake.
Right,
Crow was a great skier. And Sally Green actually was on the Auburn ski team. She was a great skier.
I did a story about her one time being a great skier. She was really good.
What about young bloods? Did they ski out there?
Yeah, that's where we skied. We
I
skied
got
out there at the lake out there. But they claim, which is still hard for me to believe, growing up and going out to the Crow Lake at the ponds. That,
right.
My granddad, Willie Crow, used to have professional skiers come in there and do shows back in the day.
Yep.
That's hard to believe.
I have seen those archived articles, so I know your granddaddy did that. I mean, big time professional skiers would come to y'all's pond and lake.
I would just remember eating out there, Nelson's by the lake, all those other places, and
the pines.
That was a beautiful place out there.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we used to walk through the woods to the ponds, and they had these big old rolls, and you throw them out to the fish and the turtles, and the catfish and the brim, and it was something else back in the day.
I can walk through the woods to your dad's house now, and then I was really concerned about that. And is there much going on out there at the lake now? Just a few hunters or something like that?
Just sitting there and just a few geese and
yep.
There's some fish out there. It's a beautiful property, but I don't know what's going to happen with it.
That's always been a beautiful place, and of course we knew about that from Brundage.
Well, I'll tell you that I never really thought much about y'all's family owning that property, but until later. But then I remember Nelson's by the lake.
We were going to put houses. Out there.
Right.
We had done all the work to build make a development out there, but just never did.
It can still be done, and I bet one day it will be done.
That's a prime piece of property. We were lucky. We were only out of all the houses we looked at. A lady from Australia called Liz.
Tell us about your house. Yeah, tell everybody about where you live.
And I'm just off the Butternegg Road out there. And,
what's the name of that road?
Mr. Kerr and Farmer.
Well, you better not tell it.
Mr. Kerr and Farmer owned the property, and he actually developed it right before he died. He was starting to, and now there's 15 houses on that road, and there's 4 of us on the little pond there. It's called Head Pond. But I can walk through the woods and get to your daddy's house, and then walk through the woods on down to Crow's Lake. And
back in the day, this is a true story. I guess I wasn't alive when Nelson. Maybe I was a little kid when Nelson thought the lake was open.
Right.
It's like a college hangout.
It was.
And apparently, a guy had one too many, and he stumbled through the woods and ended up on Crow's vehicle at a neighborhood by deck, and he felt like he was at the lake. Needless to say, he was had a shotgun, and the police were called pretty quick.
I imagine.
had actually gone through our neighborhood and went up the deck.
Oh Lord.
That's how drunk he was.
I was thinking to say that alcohol will do it to you, but that is crazy.
At one time, it was a pretty big hangout bar because I went there.
It was.
So it's had. I guess when your granddaddy had it, it was just a lodge, and I understand they probably had some big parties back in the day there. a lot of people know all about it.
Well, when we got to Troy, you know, there wasn't but about 3 places to go anyhow. I mean, I was back in the 70s, and growing up in Brundage, you know, we had to come to Troy to do
What were the
anything.
big places in Brundage? Were there any restaurants in Brundage?
The Tasty Freeze.
The Tasty Freeze.
We'd line up and eat and have fun and go out back and fight and scrap, but it was just a hangout. That's what we called it pretty much, the Tasty Freeze.
Yeah, Tasty Freeze was famous.
Yeah, the only place I remember, like, growing up in Troy, you had the Porch. I guess that started in the 70s.
Exactly.
Porch, and then you had Cheers. I don't know when Cheers came along.
You know, it came along, you know, several years after the Front Porch, and I'm like you, at first, you know, Cheers didn't make it, and it was under another name, and then when it was bought back out again,
Well,
they did pretty
Mary
good.
Finley of the Country Kitchen bought it, didn't she?
That's
And
right.
It was
That's
a
exactly
real
right.
successful and popular. I wish I knew who started the Front Porch, because it's become an institution. It's known throughout Alabama. But that's,
I want to
I
say
think it started in 77, so it's close to like 45 years old.
I want to say it was a couple of lawyers that, you know, said, hey, there's a chance to make money, and they bought it, and they put the money in, but, you know, silent partners. But it's been an institution.
We loved Harvey's. Harvey's was my bar in college. That's where I spent all my time. We loved Harvey's more than we loved the Porch.
Exactly.
Harvey's was a lot of fun.
That was started by Lee Beckett, wasn't it, right?
Yeah, sure was. And fantastic place.
Then my buddy Tommy
Didn't they have
called it.
food,
He ran
too?
it for years.
Yeah, Tommy did a good job. Tommy had worked at the Front Porch too, didn't he?
You know, I don't know, but you know, back in the day, you had
He owned it, I think.
you had Harvey's and you had the Porch, and then you had they came down from Auburn and built that place Cactus Callie's.
That was
I guess
really
where
nice.
B Graves is now, and that was a really nice place. I feel like they had more places to go back when I was in college in '94 to
They did.
99 than
They did.
now.
Cactus
really did.
Callie's was once also a disco known as the Step Ahead,
Yep, exactly.
and then there was Solomon's
It
Deli.
was a disco win in the '70s.
Yes, it was a step. We had. I mean, I went to like a Twilight or 21 in 9th grade at the Step Ahead.
What was the name of the one that was ancient? You go right out the gate there, Dr. Ralph Adams' house on the right. And, of course, you had the 2 big columns there. And to the left was
That little hut.
the hut. Now, that was the hangout for us. We could walk to that, you know.
Oh, we all
And,
got that.
I don't think I've ever heard of the Hut. What years was that? Early
Oh,
70s?
man, that was in the...
That
like I
place
said,
that looks like a little military
it
Kwanzaa hut.
started in the 60s or even before then. And it had about, 10 owners. But that was the place to go.
That later became the place where they, Miss Hawkins told me that's where they did the upholstery work for the
Yeah,
whole college,
yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
they would re-upholster couches and chairs and stuff in there.
It's been
What
a lot
about
of fun.
what about the twin twigs they call the double branch? How long
There you go.
Double Branch has been
Oh.
around. It's been around close to as long as the Front Porch. Yeah.
I'd say a good 30 years or more.
Lester's Flat. Let's see, the
Lester's
Double
Flat.
Branch.
Yep.
Harvey's. Cheers. Let's name
I
them.
mean, people tell me I never really hung out there much, but they always said the Holiday Inn had that bar. That was a lot.
That was big time. It really was. That was probably the
I went to some Troy football night events there that were pretty classic. I can tell.
exactly.
Well, the little
Exactly.
bar, that was always in their ballroom. But yeah, they had a bar, and you would go sometimes, but it never really took off. But there was, and my great uncle Bill Chapman, I guess, owned it.
We used to go eat Sunday lunch there all the time after church. That was a big spot back
That
in
was
the
yeah. We
Holiday
drive from Montgomery sometime to do that. Like
But the Cactus Callie's folks, I remember they came in right when I was getting my newspaper going, the Troy Citizen. So I got to know those guys, and I don't know where they came with that money, but they spent a lot of money refurbishing that building, which is nice today. But the
It
Cactus
is.
Callie's folks,
Yeah, they owned bodegas, I think, in Auburn, and they came down and opened one in Troy, and they had that. It was interesting. Upstairs had that open kind of like area where you could look down at the band. It was pretty cool.
There's a real good steakhouse. He was the brother to the steakhouse in Dothan, right there on the square on the corner. And they had a little place upstairs where you could dance and all that too. That had to be, about 20 years ago or something like that. And it shut down pretty fast after that.
Yeah, it was Conestoga and
Right, in Dothan. Yep.
The Pines were the same brother and sister.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Well, all the places that are no longer here, but for a while they had their moments and gave us. You talking about Harvey's?
Mm-hmm.
They got some really good musicians that would come there, and one
Yep.
time the great David Allen Coe played there.
Yeah, I remember David Allen Coe played. They had a couple other bands that ended up being pretty big.
That was the
Well,
old.
Young
that was the
Rascals
old
played everywhere down here.
IGA, and then it was a Big Bear at one time. That's where I remember my grandmother would shop when she went shopping at the Curb Market before Mr. Garrett started his places. Mr. Garrett probably got his start there. And then Brother Chapman, my cousin, both owned the building, and then I guess it was Lee Beckett, or I don't know who did it, but they revamped one whole part, and then the restaurant Harvey's was really good.
I was thinking to say I went for the food as much as I did for the rest of it.
It was very popular, I thought, and then
was.
but at
Good
night
food.
it became a college bar, but by day it was a popular delicatessen and restaurant.
You know, we were speaking about barbecue earlier in Troy, and I used to love Mark's Barbecue next to First Baptist Church over there. All my buddies worked there growing up in high school, so I got hooked up, I guess, for free barbecue.
I forgot all about them.
That was a good barbecue place.
The saying is, if they got a pink hog out front, it's supposed to be real good barbecue. That's what they got on the one going north on the left out of Troy. And big old fat pink
Yeah,
hog.
that's a good place. That's got a bar too. That is a
It
nice
has.
little bar. And
It is.
Nice folks, and I need to eat there more than I do. But the times I do eat there, I enjoy myself.
We drive by it too fast, but since I've been down here, I go over to Raymer a lot, so I come back by there and stop. And it's good.
Red's.
Good barbecue.
Have you
Red's
been-
little schoolhouse, yep.
Red's, I like Red's because it's one of the few places you can still get a buffet.
Yep.
Since Sisters no longer does the.
That'd be a good question we ought to do on the show one day. Is what are the longest established restaurants still in Troy?
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess you'd probably have to go to like the fast food route now. I don't know. Monty Grove's been around a long time.
It has.
It's been around a long time now.
Well, let's think about it. Let's think about it. I mean, Mossy Grove.
Mr. Hose left and came back.
Mossy Grove was, I have said on the show before that I ate a lot of steaks growing up, and either Dad would cook them or we would go out to a restaurant, and we had about 5. Nelson's by the Lake and the Pines being one of them.
Who did the Ingrams own? Wasn't it? They had some good restaurants.
Way back in the day, there was.
Mm-hmm.
But Mossy Grove Schoolhouse Restaurant has been here for certainly since I was in high school, or if not junior high. So it has been here a long time, and it's still. I don't go there as much as I should, but the last time I did go, it was as good as ever.
Yep.
But I'm trying to think of what restaurant, not a chain restaurant, but a locally owned.
I mean, Sisters probably made the move, 25 years ago?
Exactly, yep.
So,
well, you know, they
business probably was Crows until it went away.
the half shell has been around a while.
Oh, yeah, the half shell started when I was at junior high. They've changed locations a couple times, but yeah, half shell was definitely one of them, yeah.
And Troy has been blessed with great restaurants.
The cheapest way for us to go back then, and I guess it's still here, is Fortune Seafood. We go over there and buy a bag of oysters and sit on the tailgate of your pickup. That was pretty good food too. Now.
Well, we need to tell some more Brundage stories since we got tell us what it was like growing up in Brundage. It was pretty fun, wasn't it?
Well, you can look back on it, and about like Mayberry. And seriously, we policed ourselves back then.
Tell us about your mom and what she did.
Well, Mother actually worked up here. There was, I want to say, the Blue Frame Grill on the square, and it was, I can't think of the name of those people, but anyway, she got out of that, but she went into a clothing business for herself and did real well right there on the main street with that. And my stepfather went to work for Bob's Feed, and he stayed there like 40 years.
Yeah, that's a big. Is it Bob? What happened to Bob's Feed?
Well, it went downhill right there at the last. And when Mr. Godwin died, Larry tried to run it. Ronald tried to run it. So it was on its way out already. But that was well known in the South now. It really was. They sold feed from Mississippi to Georgia to Florida.
Sure was.
Hey, Rice, I have our answer for the longest restaurant, Bird's Drugs.
Bird's Drugs,
there
yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything close to that's been open that long that was serving food.
You know, we don't think of them as a restaurant, but they are a restaurant.
We had Dyke's Drugstore and Hamrick's Drugstore was just like that, and they compete. And it was odd. Both Mr. Dykes and Mr. Hamrick were Auburn fans, but they got in an argument and they met in the middle of the road and just fought like cats and dogs over the Auburn Alabama game. And that's still we still talk about that.
Was that Bill Hamrick's family?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Bill Hamrick was a manager when I played, but Cheryl Hamrick was real pretty, so we always stopped in her front yard and played football.
Oh yeah.
And all of us did that just to get to see Cheryl's. But anyway, that's where Bill Hamrick was a great little golfer. He really was, and a good athlete now.
Well, Brundage has produced more great golfers per capita than any town of 2,500.
Yeah, Ronnie Mobley, good down there, and we just we were blessed with a lot of good athletes and just good people. You know.
So it's like growing up in Mayberry.
Exactly. We didn't, you didn't lock anything.
You had 2 drugstores. You
Yep.
had
Haston Hardware was been there forever. Jim and Jack Haston.
You had Jackson. How long?
Jackson Hardware, yeah. It's still, well, it went back. It was probably 80-year establishment, 80 years old. And
Brundage used to have a newspaper in
Brundage Banner.
Yeah, that's where Jane Trimble probably got her start.
She did.
I think for 1 year or for a little while, Brundage had a movie theater, didn't it?
Oh, that was famous.
Don't tell us about
That's where we saw your man from Dothan, Johnny Mac Brown. We'd sit up there, and we'd get in trouble because we'd sit in the top up there in the balcony, take paper clips and shoot the screen. And it got to tearing it, so they run us out for a while. But, yeah, you could go, nickel, quarter. I remember buying Coca-Colas for 6 cents.
And
a little
Frank
Coke
has
box.
had every job there is. He had paper routes, and then you were a lifeguard. You had a
Right.
pool that everybody went to.
My wife still gets mad when I tell this story. Worked there and made $50 a week. We'd lift weights in the morning, run up down the hill, and of course we'd girl watch the rest of the day. And I always say that's probably the best job I ever had in my life. But I worked for Mr. Charlie Lawson with Barber's Milk. Y'all probably heard of Lawson Trucking now. And he was a fine man. So, yeah, we were blessed down there with a lot of good people.
Delivered milk or?
Oh, yeah, we'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and that was when it was glass. And we'd
And
sit right at their doors.
See, you talk about changes in the world. Can people under 40 years old even conceive of that once upon a time it was very common for somebody to deliver milk to your door every morning?
And it was better than this milk we drink now.
You were the one that was doing
My brother and I both worked with him, and good man. And
when did that end, I wonder, about what year?
I would say
early 80s?
Yeah,
late 70s?
yeah. But you know as well as I do, milk is just better in the glass. And I got out of the truck one day and was running up to Dr. Shiver's front side door, and Mr. Charlie was sitting in the truck. He just put up some fresh seeded grass, and he had a little wire running around it. So I hit it. The milk goes one way, and I go the other. And you know how that goes. Everything broke. So I had to go back to the truck. Mr. Charlie looked at you kind of hard. He never said anything much, but here I go again, and I finally made it. But it was a lot of fun working those early jobs. And newspaper was the same way. Montgomery Advertiser was on every door. And I stopped today to buy a Montgomery Advertiser. I worked with them about 15 years. And they wanted $2.50 for this paper.
And you bought it.
And I bought it, unfortunately.
So when you quit the Advertiser, I bet that you could get a paper for 25 cents out of the machine.
No, they've gone up to
50
cents and $1 on Sunday, and which is more than that now.
Well,
you used to use that Sunday paper for Birmingham News and Montgomery Advertiser to burn. It was so thick.
Exactly. It looked like a double. I mean, it was unreal. The coupons in there were worth anywhere from $200 to $1,000 on Sundays.
Yes, right.
God, what? That's crazy.
That's big
and
money.
And like pretty much everybody had one, and it was thick. And the newspaper, the size of the newspaper has gotten smaller.
Completely.
If you look at an old movie and you'll see people reading the newspaper, note how big the pages are. They're about 6 inches taller and 4 inches wider.
Well, people lived to get that paper. They used to stay down in Dothan. We'd have to deliver this one man's house and lay it down and open it over to Section D for him. But they've also made the comment in Montgomery, if people didn't get their paper, it was really high constipated town that whole day because people read the paper early in the morning, you know, and did their business and then went to work. But
people would get several newspapers.
Oh,
you
yeah.
would have the
New York Times,
Advertiser
everything.
probably in the morning and the
Right.
Alabama Journal in the afternoon.
And the same way with Birmingham. You know, they had a morning
You had
and
the
an
Post
afternoon
Herald
paper.
and the Birmingham News.
Birmingham News, yeah.
How many?
But that's gone, by the way, and y'all are more in journalism than I am, but print is just about a thing of the past.
Yep. Yeah, that's what people say. Is in 5 years, you probably won't have any print papers that you can buy at a rack.
But I still like to have it in my hand, look at it, and save it. You know, and you've got hundreds of papers saved from your businesses, and it's amazing. Of course,
Frank helped me empty out a storage shed that I paid for way too long, and we moved all the stuff that's in the storage, the boxes, to my garage. Most of them were books.
Yeah.
But I always saved most, not all, but most of the editions I produced at the Troy Citizen back when you didn't have internet Troy Citizen. They were all paper, and I just got boxes and boxes of 7 years worth of newspapers, and you can imagine the blood, sweat, and tears that went into producing
hours and hours. It's
and
unreal.
it just bothers me terribly that I think of all that 80-hour work weeks and those newspapers and stories disappearing. Nobody ever seen them. So I've saved them, and my thought is that one day I'm going to bind them in books and at least take them to the Troy Public Library, and so you'll have a historic record of those years where
That's another thing. We tried to take 20 boxes of books to the library, and they don't want them.
The libraries are,
they will not take
college
them.
libraries, do they even have books anymore?
They do, but it's very minute. But everything's gone, like you said, to computers and disk and all that kind of stuff. So
we've that's one thing we've done in Graydon. My wife's vice president of the Graydon Homeowner Association down here at the beach, and we have the little book drops, little glass and little sand book drops throughout Graydon where people leave their old books, and it's been really good.
They do that.
My wife likes that, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially kind of around the beach. A lot of people like to grab a book out there before they go down to the beach.
Yeah, they'll sit on the
So
beach.
you grab a book and then if you read it, and then you just return it, and then you drop off your own books. Is that concept?
It's been real effective. It's popular down here.
Well, we had one too up in our little neighborhood, and the lady couldn't keep enough books on that table, and it was strictly an honor thing, And I was always lucky when I needed something for my geography class or something like that. I just go by there and get me one.
I'm talking about Brundage. Brundage has got a good library.
Tupper Lightfoot.
Nice folks, and not many towns Brundage size have that good
well, it
library.
actually draws people to it, and it's one of the drawing cards for Brundage. And Mr. Tupper Lightfoot lived there, and I deliver his paper in the afternoon. And when he got in real bad health, you go in the back of his house. There was newspapers from all over the world on one side and the other side, and I was actually scared just about to walk down through that big old house, which is now the library. I'd go in there, and he said, "Frank, is that you?" And he said, "Would you bring me a glass of milk and a piece of pound cake?" And I'd sit there with him every day, and he'd tell me all the news, and he was just a genius.
Well, I want to hear some more about the Tupper Lightfoot.
That's one thing I'd like to see at Troy University. I think they probably should build a brand new, more state-of-the-art library.
Exactly.
The one there has got to be, I don't know how many years old.
Yep.
Yahweh, I think we're about out of time. So, Frank, thank you for sitting in. We really appreciate it. Michael, thank you. Thank you for supporting the advertisers. Everybody have a great weekend. Some big events at Troy University. Go Trojans. And we'll be back. Mike Amos will be back with us on Monday morning. So everybody have a nice weekend. And thank you for watching Today in LA.
Yeah, have a good day.
Right here, right now, it's the Premier Super Truck Sale. 1,500, 2,500, 3,500, and even a 4,500. Ram, Ford, Chevy, GMC. Over 55 trucks. Super Truck Sale price. Save up to $10,000 on select models. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
Shipping Wars is back and bigger than ever.
More work, more money.
These shippers have a long road ahead. Who will come out on top?
If we can get it there on time, we'll make some good money.
Shipping Wars. New episodes Tuesdays at 10. Only on A&E.
In the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle? We've got what you're looking for.
So come see us at Bill Jackson Chevrolet Buick GMC in Troy, and you too can experience the Jackson satisfaction.